a rock you didn't see and fall over. We've all done it, so if it happens to you, don't be embarrassed. Anyway, I'm sure you've heard all the safety briefings so many times on the journey that you can recite them in your sleep. So take a few minutes to look around. It's a view you'll get used to, but never get tired of. Then we'll board the bus to your habitat, where a special welcome meal is waiting for you." Anita pointed to her left, where the bus was waiting. It was more like a military vehicle than the sort of bus Luca used to take to school when he was a child in Cologne. It had 6 fat, off-road wheels, high sides dusted with particles of red Martian soil, and windshields at the front and the rear. "What's that?" a male voice came over Luca's helmet speaker. It took him a moment to realize that Anders, one of the other migrants, had turned on his communicator to broadcast to them all. He pointed up into the sky. Luca raised his head and saw, against the pink backdrop, a pinprick of light as bright as the sun. "That must be the asteroid," said Anita. "A little bit earlier than I thought, but don't worry, the guidance system will bring it down at a safe distance. Although asteroid crashes are best viewed from inside, so let's get you all on the bus." The migrants around him didn't move. They were mesmerized by the light as it became larger and brighter. The ball of fire streaked through the sky with a plume of gas trailing behind it. The more Luca stared, the more the fiery missile seemed to have 2 tails. Luca blinked to clear his vision, and when he looked again, he was sure there were 2 objects hurtling through the atmosphere. "It's coming toward us!" shouted Anders over the comms. With terror, Luca realized his fellow migrant was right. There were 2 fireballs, one sailing overhead like a shooting star, the other cutting a blazing path towards them. "On the bus, so we can get to the habitat," said Anita, with a hint of concern in her voice. Some of the migrants stumbled toward the bus, but others were still mesmerized by the falling asteroid. More had turned on their comms to broadcast generally, and the sounds of panic in several different languages reached Luca's ears. His beating heart was telling him to run, but in the rad suit and the unfamiliar Martian gravity, he feared he wouldn't be quick enough and might fall. The migrant next to him dropped to the ground like a soldier taking cover under enemy fire. Luca took one last look at the flaming asteroid, now so large that it blotted out the rest of the sky, and ducked down to do the same. Instinct caused his knees to buckle, and he landed on all fours. Dust blew up all around him as the space rock shot past. Heat from the fire passed over him, and the breeze from the asteroid's wake unsettled the thin Martian atmosphere. Puffs of vapor from Luca's fast, relieved breath briefly formed on the inside of his visor before they were cleared by the ventilation system of his suit. The asteroid disappeared less than a kilometer away and fell into the nearest canyon of Noctis Labyrinthus. Luca didn't see it crash, but he felt the tremor ripple through the ground and tensed his muscles to steady himself. Above him, a white contrail hung in the sky, like a witness to the rock's trajectory, pointing into the chasm where a cloud of red dust had been thrown up by the crash. Anita's voice called out across the cacophony of amazed, scared, and confused voices clogging up the team's comms. "The asteroid was supposed to crash a long way from here. I don't know what happened. Stay here while I go check what damage has been done." She ran to the bus, using the half-hopping method that people who live on Mars had developed, and dropped her flags at the hatchway. Climbing on board, she promised to return. But as Luca watched the bus leave with its fat wheels kicking up dust, he had the horrible feeling that they had been abandoned. Chapter 2. Julie stood at the window of her office and watched the cloud of dust rise up against the horizon as the asteroid slammed itself into the bedrock of Mars. The kinetic energy of such an impact would be enough to heat the ground and cause it to radiate warmth for many centuries. It was a crude but effective method of terraforming that, one day, would play its small role in making the globe habitable by humans. Even so, she cursed the maverick chief executive of Credicore Corporation for the flamboyant way he did things. Multi-billionaire Bard Hunter was so...